forget I am the leader. They want to hear from the mayor. If y'all ain't learned that yet. The mayor, not the trustees that don't do nothing, that only run their mouth. Y'all don't do no work, no work. Because right now, guys, you have been hoodwinked. You've been bamboozled. You've been led astray. You've been all these things, and I'm trying to show you what it is that you're missing. I keep saying what? Call my phone. Call my phone. But nobody in here does it. Got false narratives out there, and y'all should be ashamed of yourself. Y'all black. Y'all are black. And y'all sitting up here beating and attacking on a black woman that's in power. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. Shame on y'all.
Shame on y'all.
And now the million-dollar question on everybody's mind. When will the FBI stop the reign of terror and bring this situation to a close? I'll answer that question and tell you exactly how this will play out on today's episode of Go Political. What is up, everybody? It's Carlton Flowers here with the Go Political channel, and we are back in the streets of Dolton, south side of Chicago, to talk about the SuperMayor, Tiffany Henyard, and why this FBI investigation seems to be dragging on for an eternity, while SuperMayor Tiffany Henyard continues to destroy the finances of Dolton and the entire Thornton Township. Now, while it does appear that there is some momentum in the investigation while the heinous activity continues, we have seen Keith Freeman indicted for fraud. We have seen Officer Lewis Lacey indicted for fraud. We have seen a court injunction slapped on the SuperMayor for her illegal hires. We have seen former Mayor Lori Lightfoot investigating and exposing heinous financial corruption. And we have seen contractors cornered by the authorities and exposed on the news for accepting kickbacks on these no-bid contracts. But again, the question is, why does the FBI allow her to continue to destroy the finances of Dolton, of Thornton Township, while this investigation goes on? Why is it taking so long? So in this video today, I'm going to shed some light on why we are seeing things drag out like they are. And in the first part of this video, we're going to look at the roots of the FBI and the individual who is responsible for the FBI's actions and how they move, that carries on to this day. In the second part, we're going to look at two actual cases that are very similar to this one and how they ended. In the third part, we're going to talk about those dirty politicians who sat on their cans this entire time, not stepping in, and why they did not intervene. And then in the last part, I'm going to tell you how all of this is going to end, and I'm going to give you my prediction of when it will end. So hang in with me. I want you to like and subscribe and share this video with everyone that you know that is into the Dolton saga. And let's get into the history of how the FBI operates. All right, guys, if you want to understand how and why the FBI investigations take so long, you've got to study the most influential and longest tenured FBI director in the agency's history, J. Edgar Hoover. Hoover served as the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigations for a whopping 46 years until the time of his death in 1972. He was a super private, secretive person from childhood through adulthood that was known to have more power than any president that he ever served under. But how did he amass such power? It was simple. By digging up dirt on people and holding them hostage with the info that he had. Hoover was a gossip expert, and he spent years gathering damning information on just about every person of significance in the entire country. That included politicians, judges, lawyers, celebrities, business moguls, and even mob bosses. This man had a memory like an elephant. And to add to that, he had the most extensive, comprehensive file system on everyone that he tracked and how they were connected to other key individuals. And only J. Edgar Hoover himself knew how to find the exact information that he needed on any individual that was under investigation. And let me make this clear. When Hoover put you on his radar, your goose was cooked. Once you ended up in his file system, there was literally no escape. He would build a massive file that had every detail of your entire life, especially the stuff you didn't want anyone else to know about. Think you got away with that trip to Vegas that involved illicit drugs and hookers? Think again, it was already in the file. But here's what's interesting. Rather than busting an individual when he had enough goods on them to make a clear case to put them away forever, he would choose to turn them into a pawn. You would have a choice of either becoming his deep undercover informant or go to jail and have your life and your reputation destroyed. So now you can see it. J. Edgar Hoover's tactics shaped the FBI, and they still operate in the same way to this very day. It's not about speed, it's about control. So let's bring it to the present time and cover exactly why the FBI's approach to arresting known criminals seems to be so slow. Now, regarding today's investigations, what are the FBI's priorities? Well, their goal is to build a strong, airtight case that can withstand the most stringent legal scrutiny and lead to a successful prosecution. It is said that they have a 98% rate of prosecuting. Now, with that, let's cover the 4 points of consideration on why the FBI's investigations move at a snail's pace when taking down the big criminal bosses, kind of like the SuperMayor Tiffany Henyard.
Complex investigations.
Many federal crimes, especially those involving organized crime, white-collar crime, or terrorism, are complex and require extensive investigation. This often involves gathering substantial evidence, including documents, electronic records, and witness testimonies.
Building a strong case.
The FBI aims to ensure that once they make an arrest, the case is strong enough to lead to a conviction. This often means taking the time to gather irrefutable evidence and sometimes flipping lower-level individuals to testify against higher-ups.
Legal procedures.
The federal criminal justice process involves multiple steps, including investigations, grand juries, and obtaining arrest warrants. Each of these steps is designed to protect the rights of individuals and ensure due process, which can add to the time required.
Preventing future crimes.
By dismantling entire criminal networks rather than just arresting one individual, the FBI aims to prevent future crimes and reduce overall criminal activity in the long term. While this approach can indeed result in significant damage continuing while investigations are ongoing, the goal is to create a more lasting impact by thoroughly dismantling criminal operations.
Now we have a better idea of why it takes so long for these investigations to come to a close. The FBI wants to guard that 98% conviction rate, so they're very thorough in what they do. And honestly, the people of Dolton and Thornton Township have nobody else that they can turn to until this investigation is done. I mean, to just put it plain and simple, they have no recourse because the powers that be have chosen to sit on their fat cans and do nothing about it. They won't get involved. I mean, let's think about it. Looking back, what have the key authoritative figures in the state of Illinois done up until now? Absolutely nothing. They won't get involved. I mean, we've got Attorney General Kwame Brown. Has he done anything besides making empty threats of coming down on the Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation? No. We've got Governor Pete Pritzker. You remember when I did that video a while back when he was being interviewed for his thoughts about the investigation and the situation? And what was his response? Do you remember? He said that he didn't want to step on anyone's toes in the investigation because, well, they're good people and they really know what's going on. So will he do anything? No. How about the state police? Have we seen the state police standing up for the people when their First Amendment rights were being violated time and time again? Absolutely not. And what's even crazier than that, we even had the entire Democratic National Convention right here in Chicago. I mean, we had the President of the United States, Joe Biden. We had a former president in Barack Obama. Even the Democratic nominee who constantly brags about how she has prosecuted international crime rings back in her days as the Attorney General of the state of California. But do you think any one of them said a mumbling word about all the nonsense that's going on in Dolton and Thornton Township while they were right there within a stone's throw? Absolutely not. Some ask why. And there's several reasons, why they won't say anything, why they won't get involved. First of all, the Attorney General is connected to the same law firm that has enabled Mayor Tiffany Henyard to commit all of the financial atrocities that she has gotten away with for the past 4 years. I won't mention any names. Plus, ain't not one politician about to risk getting in the middle of this mess before the big event that happens on November 5th. Yep, that's right, the election. They're not going to touch this thing with a 10-foot pole. So this leaves us with the FBI. Nobody else is going to save Dolton. I don't care how many times that we do interviews on TV and ask the world, does someone come in and save Dolton? It ain't going to happen. But there is hope because 2 prior cases give us a little bit of insight on how this case will more than likely come to a close.
First, let's look at the case of Kwame Kilpatrick. This case is almost identical to the SuperMayor Tiffany Henyard situation in Dolton.
Just months into his first term, Kilpatrick seemed seduced by the trappings of power. He traveled with rock star-style entourages, a security detail more appropriate for a president than a mayor. And news reports exposed Kilpatrick for charging pricey meals and exotic hotel rooms on his city-issued credit card.
He was going to stay at very fancy hotels when he went out of town, like the Four Seasons, and racking up $500 spa visits.
Kwame Kilpatrick, the so-called hip-hop mayor, was elected as the youngest mayor of Detroit in the year 2001. His tenure began with high hopes and promises of revitalizing the city. Sound familiar? His time in office, however, was marred by scandals and allegations of corruption. Kilpatrick's administration was investigated for various charges, including extortion, bribery, and fraud. In the year 2013, after a 9-year investigation by the FBI, he was convicted on 24 federal felony counts, including racketeering, extortion, and fraud. He was sentenced to 28 years in a federal prison for his role in a wide-ranging racketeering conspiracy. Kilpatrick's case remains one of the most significant public corruption cases in Detroit's history. You're probably well aware of this one, but let's talk about Sean Combs. P. Diddy Combs was the ringmaster of debauchery for over 24 years, hosting his raucous freak-off parties while manipulating unsuspecting Hollywood hopefuls and aspiring music stars, among other terrible things. The famous rapper and music mogul has been under investigation for over 1 year. The case against him involves serious charges of sex trafficking, racketeering, and bribery. His mansion was raided in March of 2024, and despite all of the evidence obtained, it took 6 months before he was arrested at a New York hotel in September. He is now being held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. Diddy has pleaded not guilty to the charges, but his bail requests have all been denied. The trial is set for 2025, and the case is still ongoing. Now let's wrap it all up and get back to the main topic at hand. There's been a dark storm cloud hanging over Dolton for the past 4 years, and the evil one is still wreaking havoc. So let's get straight to the question on everybody's mind. How much longer will it take before the FBI ends this nightmare? Okay, I'll admit it, that was a little bit over dramatic, but hey, it's Halloween, so I wanted to fluff it up a little bit. All right, so now we have seen all of the evidence. We know what's going on with the case. We know that the FBI is working their way up from the bottom to the SuperMayor. They're flipping them one at a time. We've seen Keith Freeman go down. We saw Louis Lacy go down. We know that Carmen Carlisle has flipped. We know that trusty milk dud Stan Brown is probably getting some pressure. So we know there is momentum in this case. And this goes all the way back, looking at history to what I explained to you as how the FBI operates. This is a classic example of J. Edgar Hoover style, where he uses blackmail and intimidation to flip those people into testifying against the henchman of the entire operation. So in the two examples, we saw one example where the investigation drug on for 9 years before Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick was jailed. And he served quite a bit of time. I think it was a total of 10 years or so before he got out early. So it took a long time. In the second example that we're watching unfold right now with P. Diddy, we saw the FBI start the investigation a year ago. It took 6 months before they raided the compounds. And then it took another 6 months before he was arrested and put in jail without no bail.
Okay, so that wrapped up a lot quicker. And I predict that this situation is going to be closer to what we see happening with the P. Diddy case than how long it took to drag out in getting Kwame Kilpatrick thrown in the slammer. So here it is, folks, my prediction. The election is going to be over in a matter of days. We'll have that all in the past. It'll be behind us. So there will be no political fallout for getting this case wrapped up. We know that the FBI has a conviction rate of 98%. We know that once they sink their teeth into someone, they're not going to turn loose. So considering that, I think that this is going to wrap up within 6 months to 1 year after the presidential election. Now, I could be wrong. And of course, all parties involved are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. But I firmly do believe that Tiffany Henyard, your goose is cooked. You're not going to wiggle your way out of this one. And I'm telling you what, you might have big bingo and you might be slinging out that strawberry cake. Yay! But it's going to take a whole lot of flat screen TVs and strawberry cake to get yourself out of this situation. Because honestly, I don't think those FBI agents are going to be swayed by strawberry cake and flat screen TVs. So that's just my opinion, but I'd like to hear your opinion. Do you still think Tiffany Henyard is innocent of all of the false allegations and the fake news? Or do you think that this is going to wrap up a lot quicker than my prediction? I want you to share in the comments below, and let's get this conversation started about how this will end as the entire world is watching. And this drama is going to unfold and come to an end very soon. So sound off and let me know. And in the meantime, share this video and then like and subscribe. Pass it on to a few friends. And I've got more Dolton drama coming your way. And I'm even working on the next episode of the Dolton Chronicles. Yep, it's coming, folks. So I appreciate you all. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did in putting it all together. That's all I've got for now. This is Carlton, and I am out.